The Hope's Dawn glided through the silent expanse of space, its sleek hull reflecting the soft glow of distant stars. It was a mission of peace, a ship filled with aid, heading toward a colony struggling with a severe famine. Commander Mia Ward stood at the helm, her fingers tracing the edges of the console in front of her. The hum of the ship's engines was steady, and for the moment, everything felt calm. Yet Mia couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. She had been in deep space long enough to trust her instincts, and they were screaming at her that this peaceful mission might not stay peaceful for long. The crew of the Hope's Dawn was full of optimism. They were bringing food, medicine, and supplies to those in need. The mission had been carefully planned, and everything seemed to be running smoothly. The crew members moved around the ship, preparing for the arrival at their destination. They exchanged light-hearted jokes and relaxed in their downtime, unaware of the dark warning signs Mia had picked up on. Maya stood in the observation deck, staring out into the abyss of space. The stars shimmered, and for a moment, everything seemed peaceful. But then, the ship's sensors gave a small ping, a sound barely noticeable. Mia's fingers tightened on the railing in front of her. It was a signal. A strange, foreign signal. Not the usual routine chatter of nearby ships or space debris, but something different, something hidden. She felt a chill creep down her spine. She walked briskly to the communication room, where Officer Finn Larson was working on a routine transmission. He looked up as she entered. "Commander, what's up?" he asked casually, though Mia could see the hint of curiosity in his eyes. "Did you hear that signal?" Maya asked, trying to sound calm. She didn't want to alarm anyone, but something about it was off. Finn frowned as he checked the readout. "There's some interference, but nothing unusual. Just some stray signals from a nearby nebula." Mia didn't buy it. There was more to it than that. "Are you sure?" she pressed, her eyes narrowing. Finn adjusted the console, but he seemed unsure. "It's just background noise, Commander. Happens sometimes in this part of space." Mia's gaze shifted back to the stars outside. She tried to push the nagging sense of unease from her mind, but it lingered. She had a bad feeling, like they were being watched. The Hope's Dawn was far from the nearest fleet, and they were navigating a sector of space that hadn't been charted in years. She turned away from the observation window. "Keep an eye on it. Alert me if anything changes." Finn nodded. "You got it." Mia returned to the bridge, where she settled into her captain's chair. Her eyes scanned the readouts of the ship's sensors, watching for any signs of danger. The crew carried on with their routines, unaware of the creeping tension that was building inside her. It was as if the calm before the storm had settled around them, and she was the only one who could feel it. Hours passed. The Hope's Dawn cruised steadily through the dark emptiness of space. Everything seemed normal. But Mia couldn't relax. She stayed alert, her mind racing through possible scenarios. Was it a malfunction, or had they somehow wandered into hostile territory? She glanced at the crew again. They were still unaware, continuing with their duties, their voices a soft murmur in the background. But her gut told her something was wrong. Just as Mia was about to call the crew to the briefing room for a check-in, the ship's warning system went off. It was a sudden, sharp beep that broke the silence. Mia's heart leaped into her throat. She stood up quickly, her eyes scanning the screen in front of her. The signal had spiked. It wasn't just interference anymore. It was a deliberate transmission, aimed directly at the ship. Her pulse quickened as she keyed in the coordinates of the signal. It was coming from a nearby asteroid field, a cluster of floating rocks that hadn't been charted in the last survey. This area of space was largely unexplored. No one had reason to come out here for years. The idea that a ship could be hiding in such an isolated spot made her nervous. "Alert the crew," Maya ordered, her voice steady despite the tension rising in her chest. "Everyone to their stations. We've got a possible threat. Prepare for anything." Finn looked up from his station, a serious expression replacing the casual demeanor he had earlier. "Understood, Commander." The crew quickly moved into action, their faces reflecting the change in atmosphere. The calm had shattered, replaced with a sharp sense of focus. Mia's hands gripped the armrests of her chair as the ship's engines hummed louder, preparing to change course. "Captain Ward, we're getting more readings," Finn said, his voice tight. "There's something large moving in the asteroid field. It's not just debris. It's a ship, or at least it's shaped like one." Mia's thoughts raced. A hidden ship in such a remote place. The odds were against it. And yet here they were. Whoever was out there, they were waiting for something. The question was, why? "Can you identify the ship?" Maya asked, though she already feared the answer. Finn's fingers moved quickly across the console, but his face grew more and more strained. "It's not showing up on our usual scans, Commander. I think it's using a cloaking device." Mia felt a chill settle over her. A cloaking device? That wasn't something just any ship could use. Whoever was out there had technology far beyond what the Hope's Dawn had access to. The implications of this hit her hard. This wasn't just an accidental encounter anymore. This was a trap. Her mind raced through the possibilities. Were they hostile? Were they pirates? Or was something even worse waiting for them in the dark? And what about the signal? What if it was a lure, calling them into a confrontation? "Get us out of the asteroid field," Mia barked. "Now, prepare to jump to light speed." Finn's hands worked furiously to adjust the ship's trajectory. "I'm trying, Commander, but something's wrong with the engines. We can't get enough power to jump." "What?" Mia's voice was sharp. "Why not?" "There's interference in the system," Finn said, his brow furrowed in confusion. "It's like something is blocking the signal. I can't get a clean line to light speed." "Damn it," Mia muttered. "I want shields up. Now. And prepare the escape pods. We need to be ready for anything." The crew scrambled into action. Mia could feel her heart pounding in her chest. She had trained for situations like this, but nothing had prepared her for a real ambush. This wasn't a drill. This wasn't a test. She was about to face something that could change the course of their mission, and possibly their lives. Forever. The ship shuddered. It was subtle at first, then stronger, as if something massive was pressing against it. The lights flickered, and the comm system crackled. An alarm blared, warning them of an incoming threat. Mia's eyes locked onto the display in front of her, watching as an unknown ship slowly decloaked, revealing itself just ahead. It was enormous, far bigger than the Hope's Dawn. Its dark, jagged shape loomed in front of them, and Maya felt a knot form in her stomach. She wasn't sure who, or what, this ship was, but one thing was clear. They were no longer alone in the depths of space. Mia swallowed hard and turned to the crew. "Brace yourselves," she said, her voice steady, though her heart raced. "We're not getting out of this easily." The ambush had begun. The Hope's Dawn trembled under the sudden barrage of unknown fire. The crew scrambled to their stations, the chaos unfolding with terrifying speed. Mia's heart raced as the alarms blared in her ears, the ship's systems flashing warnings all over the control panel. The crew's sense of calm had vanished. There was no time to prepare for this kind of attack. Whoever had ambushed them, they were far beyond anything Mia had ever anticipated. The lights flickered again, and the sharp crackle of the ship's communication system echoed through the bridge. The mysterious enemy ship had decloaked just moments ago, its massive hull gleaming with a dark, otherworldly shine. Mia gripped the armrests of her chair, trying to steady herself. She had faced battles before, but nothing like this. This felt different. This felt personal. "Shields are holding for now," Finn Larson shouted, his fingers flying over the console. "But we won't last long if they keep firing like this." Mia's mind raced. She couldn't afford to let panic set in. "Where's the enemy's point of fire?" She barked, eyes glued to the rapidly changing displays. The energy readings were off the charts, unlike anything Earth technology could withstand. "We're getting heavy blasts along the port side," Finn replied, looking grim. "They're hitting us hard, Commander. We've got systems failing in multiple sectors. Status on the escape pods. Mia demanded, the urgency creeping into her voice. They had to prepare for the worst. Finn's eyes darted to his screen. Escape pods are still operational, but they'll be useless if we don't get this ship under control. We need to fight back, or we'll be sitting ducks. Mia's thoughts moved quickly, weighing the risks. Fighting back was their only option, but she wasn't even sure who they were fighting. Who were these attackers? And why were they targeting a relief mission? The ship shook violently again, sending crew members stumbling. The lights flickered, then went out entirely. The emergency red lights cast an eerie glow on the faces of the crew, their expressions filled with fear and confusion. Mia quickly tapped her comms panel. "Engineering, report," she ordered, her voice tense. A moment of silence before Chief Engineer Isaac's voice came through, strained and urgent. "Commander, we're losing power in several systems. We've got hull breaches on Deck 3, and the fuel supply is starting to destabilize. I can't guarantee that we'll stay in one piece much longer if this keeps up." Mia's jaw clenched. This was worse than she had feared. She needed to act, and fast. "Is the escape route still clear?" she asked, her voice steady despite the turmoil in her chest. "For now," Isaac replied. "But it won't be for long if they keep targeting us." Mia paused for a moment, thinking. "Initiate evasive maneuvers, Finn. I need everything you've got." She turned to the rest of the bridge crew. "Prepare for boarding action. We're going to have to fight." The crew quickly snapped to action. Finn's fingers flew over the controls, steering the Hope's Dawn into a series of rapid, unpredictable turns. The ship bucked and groaned as it strained to avoid the relentless barrage from the alien vessel. Maya stood up, moving to the weapons console. "Give me a status on our weapons," she said to Lieutenant Sarah Collins, the weapons officer. "The forward laser cannons are offline," Sarah replied, her voice strained. "But I can get the torpedoes ready. We might be able to land a hit if we're lucky." "Do it," Maya said. The odds were slim, but they had to try. Maya took a deep breath and focused. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about protecting the crew and the mission. She couldn't afford to let fear take over. The fate of everyone aboard was in her hands now. The alien ship loomed ominously on the view screen, moving closer, its weapons charging up for another strike. Mia had to act quickly. "Fire torpedoes," she commanded. The Hope's Dawn shook again as the torpedoes launched from the side of the ship, tearing through the dark expanse of space. The shots hit the alien ship's shields, causing a brief flash of light. The impact was small, but Mia knew they'd just made a mark. "Direct hit, Commander," Sarah called out, her voice tinged with surprise. "But their shields are holding." Mia clenched her fists. This wasn't enough. They needed to break through the shields. "Again," she ordered. This time, the Hope's Dawn fired all of its remaining torpedoes in rapid succession, aiming for weak points in the alien vessel's shield system. The attack sent a ripple through the alien ship's defenses, but it didn't break them. The enemy ship continued to close in. "We need to buy ourselves more time," Maya said. "Prepare the crew for boarding. We're going to have to engage them directly." A few decks below, in the mess hall, chaos had erupted. The crew members who weren't already at their posts were now rushing to gather supplies and weapons. Maya's orders had been clear, but the fear was palpable. They had no idea who their attackers were or why they had targeted them. And worse, the mysterious alien ship was much more powerful than anything they had ever encountered. The Hope's Dawn wasn't equipped to fight such an enemy, and the crew knew it. Commander Ward's calm, authoritative demeanor was the only thing that kept them from falling into full-blown panic. As Mia's orders filtered down, the crew quickly organized into teams, grabbing whatever weapons and equipment they could find. Everyone knew the stakes. They were about to face an enemy unlike anything humanity had ever fought. Back on the bridge, Maya remained focused, her eyes darting between the displays and the window to the vast blackness of space. She couldn't afford to let fear take over. Not now. The crew depended on her. But the more she thought about it, the more questions piled up. Why had this attack come out of nowhere? Who were these aliens, and what did they want with a humanitarian mission? The next wave of fire from the alien ship hit them hard, shaking the Hope's Dawn violently. Sparks flew from consoles around the bridge, and smoke began to fill the air. Maya held her ground, refusing to be rattled. The crew followed her example, continuing their work with precision. But as the smoke began to clear, a new sound filled the air, a low, eerie hum that reverberated through the ship's metal walls. It came from deep within the Hope's Dawn. The lights flickered again, this time dimming to a dark red hue. And then it happened. The signal, the same one they had detected earlier, flared to life once more. It wasn't just a sound anymore. It was a voice speaking in a language Mia couldn't understand, but the tone was unmistakable. It was a command. "Commander," Finn shouted, his face pale. "The signal. It's coming from the alien ship." Mia's heart skipped a beat. What was happening? Who was in control of the situation now? She turned to face the screen, but it was no longer the alien ship they were tracking. Instead, it was something different. Something that looked like a face, but made of shifting stars and dark energy. A vision that sent a chill down her spine. The voice, whatever it was, spoke again, and Maya finally realized they weren't just being attacked. They were being targeted for something far bigger than they could have imagined. The fate of the Hope's Dawn and its crew was now intertwined with forces beyond their understanding. And the worst part was, they had no idea how this war would end. The Hope's Dawn rocked again as another blast from the alien ship hit them head-on. The shields flickered, their energy reserves barely holding. Commander Mia Ward's grip tightened on the armrests of her chair as she surveyed the chaos unfolding on the bridge. The ship was failing. Slowly, but surely, they were being torn apart by a force they barely understood. "Status on the hull?" Maya asked, her voice strained but focused. "Deck 3 is almost gone, Commander." Isaac's voice came through from engineering. "We've got fire suppression in place, but we're losing oxygen in several compartments. The ship's structural integrity is barely holding." Mia's mind raced. The Hope's Dawn was a sturdy vessel, designed for long-range missions, but against this kind of firepower, even it wouldn't last long. She couldn't afford to lose the ship, or the crew, without at least understanding what they were up against. "Keep the crew safe, Isaac. Get them to the escape pods if you have to," she ordered, her tone commanding. She wasn't ready to give up just yet. There had to be something they could do to turn the tide. As Finn Larson worked frantically at his station, trying to keep the ship from falling apart under the relentless fire, Mia's thoughts kept returning to the eerie signal they had detected earlier. It wasn't just a transmission. It was a voice. And the voice had come from somewhere within the alien ship. The question burned in her mind. Who, or what, was behind it? The alien ship was unlike anything she had ever seen. Its jagged, dark silhouette loomed like a shadow in the void of space. Every shot it fired seemed to shake the very foundation of the Hope's Dawn. And now, with the lights flickering and the ship's systems failing, Mia knew they were on the brink of something much worse than just a simple attack. "Commander," Finn said, his voice strained as he worked furiously. "The enemy ship is altering its course. They're coming in closer. They're positioning themselves for a boarding action." Mia's stomach dropped. A boarding action. They were getting too close to escape. She had no illusions now. These weren't just pirates. The alien ship wasn't interested in a quick kill. They wanted to board. They wanted something from the Hope's Dawn, and possibly from the crew. "Brace for impact," Mia shouted. She quickly turned to Sarah Collins, the weapons officer. "Can we get the forward laser cannons online? We need a strong defense now." Sarah shook her head. "We're not even getting a good lock on their ship, Commander. It's too advanced. They've neutralized most of our weapon systems. Mia cursed under her breath. They were out of options. The alien ship had outclassed them in every way. All they had left was their ability to survive. And maybe, just maybe, find out what this was all about. Without another word, Maya stood from her chair, turning to face her crew. Their eyes were wide with fear, but Maya refused to let that fear take root. She couldn't afford it. Not now. "We're going to face this head-on," she said, her voice firm. "I want every crew member in position. If they board, we fight back. Do not let them take control of this ship. I don't care what it takes. We fight for this ship, and we fight for our lives." "Understood." The crew nodded, their faces hardening with determination. Mia knew they were scared, but they were also loyal. She trusted them, and in this moment, she needed them more than ever. The alien ship moved closer, its massive hull blocking out the stars. It was so close now that Maya could almost feel its presence, a dark force looming over them. A low hum filled the ship, the sound of their engines struggling to stay functional, and the eerie voice from the transmission grew louder, a haunting, incomprehensible melody echoing through the speakers. "Commander," Finn called, his voice tight with panic. "We're being hailed. They're sending a transmission." Mia turned to face him, her brow furrowed. "Put it through." The screen flickered to life, and a distorted image appeared in front of her. A figure, if it could even be called that, was visible. It was humanoid in shape, but its body shimmered and warped, constantly shifting like liquid metal. Its face was an amalgamation of jagged, swirling shapes that somehow resembled eyes, though they flickered too quickly to focus on. The voice from the transmission now came through clear, though it still sounded alien, unnatural. "Human," the figure spoke, its tone cold and metallic. "You are in possession of something we seek. Your ship will be taken. Your species is insignificant. Resistance is futile." Mia's blood ran cold. The words hit her like a physical blow, but she refused to let it show. Her eyes never left the screen. She needed answers. Now. "What do you want with us?" she demanded, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her insides. "Why attack a relief ship? What are you looking for?" The creature's shifting face seemed to twist into something like a smile, though it was hard to say for sure. "We seek the knowledge you possess. You are more than you seem, human," it said cryptically. "This ship, this mission, it is not a simple act of mercy. You carry something far more valuable than supplies." Mia's mind raced. What did they mean? What was on the Hope's Dawn that could be of interest to this alien species? They were bringing food and medicine to a colony. Nothing more. Were they after the crew? Or was it something else, something hidden deep within the ship? Before Maya could respond, the alien's form flickered again, and the communication was cut off. The screen went dark, and the eerie hum continued to fill the air. "We don't have much time," Maya said, her voice sharp. "Prepare for boarding. They want something from us, and I need to know what it is. We won't let them take control of this ship." But as she turned to face the crew, she realized that the worst part wasn't the alien attack, the ship's failing systems, or the unknowns they were up against. The worst part was the nagging thought in the back of her mind. What if this wasn't just an attack? What if they were being drawn into something far bigger than themselves? Something that no one could have predicted. "Commander," Finn said urgently, "they're opening a portal. It looks like they're preparing to board." Mia's heart skipped a beat. It was now or never. "Everyone to your stations," she shouted. "Prepare to defend the ship. We're not going down without a fight." As the crew sprang into action, Maya stood tall, staring at the dark portal opening in front of the alien ship. There was no turning back now. The battle for their survival was about to begin. The Hope's Dawn trembled violently as the alien ship fired once more, its devastating weaponry nearly ripping the relief vessel in half. The lights flickered again, and the emergency alarms blared a constant shrill warning, urging everyone to brace for impact. Mia Ward, the ship's commander, stood at the center of the bridge, her mind working through the options, which were quickly narrowing down to one: fight or die. There was no running. Not with the alien vessel so close. "Finn, what's the status of the enemy ship?" Mia called out, her voice steady despite the chaos. Finn Larson, the helmsman, glanced at his console, his face pale as the screen showed more incoming fire. "Their weapons are still charged and locked on us, Commander. They're not letting up. The shields are down to 40%. We can't keep this up for much longer." Mia clenched her fists, the pressure mounting as the seconds ticked away. She turned to Sarah Collins, the weapons officer, who was working furiously to get their remaining cannons online. "Sarah, can we still fight back?" "I need an answer now," Mia demanded. Sarah glanced at the screen, her face tight with frustration. "We can fire some of the secondary cannons, but we're not going to do much against them. Our torpedoes are spent, and the forward lasers are completely offline. It's like they've got our number." Mia's mind raced. They needed a way to turn the tide. Something unexpected, something the enemy wouldn't anticipate. The alien ship was preparing to board. She could feel it in her gut. The eerie signal they had received earlier was still echoing in the ship's systems, and the communication from the alien leader lingered like a chilling memory in her mind. What were they after? What did the Hope's Dawn have that could possibly be of interest to them? The alien vessel moved closer, its massive shadow looming over them. The crew began to prepare, making final adjustments and securing themselves for the worst. Mia could see the fear in their eyes, but they didn't hesitate. They were trained to fight, and now they would do so. Mia moved to the communication console, where the distorted image of the alien leader had appeared moments ago. It flickered briefly, then vanished. She knew the alien ship's boarding party was coming, and she couldn't let them take control. She couldn't let them board unchallenged. "Prepare to engage the enemy," she ordered, turning back to her crew. "We fight for our ship and for our survival. Everyone, to your positions." Across the ship, the crew moved swiftly, donning their gear and taking positions at critical points. Mia could hear the sound of boots running down the metal corridors, the clatter of weapons being readied. They were all getting into position, waiting for the inevitable. The comms crackled to life again, and Finn's voice broke through the chaos. "Commander, the enemy ship's portal is opening. They're coming through." Mia's stomach twisted. They had no idea what kind of forces would be coming through that portal. The aliens had proven themselves to be ruthless. The crew had fought through rough conditions before, but never had they faced something like this. It was more than an attack. It was an invasion. The first enemy soldiers began to materialize, stepping through the portal. They were humanoid in form, but their bodies were covered in black, chitinous armor that gleamed with an unnatural sheen. Their eyes glowed faintly, their movements smooth and predatory. As they stepped onto the deck, they were met with resistance. Mia's breath caught in her throat. The crew had already started to fight back, engaging the alien invaders in a brutal firefight. The sound of gunfire and clashing metal filled the air, echoing throughout the ship's corridors. The crew wasn't backing down. They would give everything to protect their home. Mia sprinted toward the nearest hallway, drawing her weapon as she joined the team that was already positioned at a junction. She could hear the screams of her crew members as they battled the aliens, but the sound of their defiance only fueled her resolve. She wouldn't let these invaders take her ship. "Hold them back," Mia shouted to her crew as she fired, her aim steady, her mind clear. "We need to get to their leader. If we take down the source, we can end this." They moved together, pushing through the hallway, encountering more of the alien soldiers as they advanced. The crew was well trained, but these invaders were no mere threat. They were relentless. Mia could see the fear on her crew's faces, but they didn't stop. They fought with everything they had. The sudden darkness felt suffocating, and for a moment, everything came to a standstill. The only sounds were the steady hum of the ship's failing systems and the distant echoes of battle as Mia and her crew fought to hold the line against the alien invaders. The tension in the air was thick, each passing second heavier than the last. Mia's breath came in shallow gasps, her mind racing. Something was wrong, deeply wrong. The alien leader's cryptic words had sent a chill down her spine, but it was the voice that followed, something even darker, that had truly unsettled her. We have only just begun. Mia's instincts kicked into overdrive, her mind working furiously to make sense of the situation. The lights flickered once more, then came back on. Dim, but enough to reveal the nightmare unfolding around them. The alien leader, who had been standing near the holographic display, was now gone. And so were the soldiers who had been stationed around the room. They had vanished in the blink of an eye. Where did they go? Mia whispered under her breath, her weapon still raised, scanning the room. What's happening? Her crew was equally on edge, glancing nervously at the darkened corners of the room. Lieutenant Rodriguez, his face grim, spoke up first. They didn't leave, Commander, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. They're still here. Somewhere. I can feel it. Mia nodded, her mind slowly piecing things together. The alien ship, its strange technology, the cryptic message, everything pointed to a bigger, far-reaching plan that humanity had no hope of understanding. But if they were going to survive, they had to figure it out. They had to fight back. A sudden, sharp hiss of static interrupted her thoughts. The comms crackled, and Finn's voice came through, sounding strained but urgent. Commander, we've got an issue. The alien ship's central core is destabilizing. It's not just attacking us. It's about to collapse in on itself. Mia's heart skipped a beat. What do you mean, Finn? Can we stop it? No, Finn responded quickly. I've been monitoring their systems. The entire ship is rigged to explode in a massive chain reaction. If we don't get out of here in the next few minutes, we're done for. Panic surged in her chest, but Maya forced herself to stay calm. There was no time for fear. Not now. Everyone, listen up, she barked, turning to face the crew. The ship is going to explode. We need to get to the escape pods now. Let's move. Without another word, the crew sprang into action. There was no hesitation now. Every member of the Hope's Dawn knew what was at stake. They were being hunted, and their only hope of survival lay in getting off this ship before it became a fiery grave. Mia moved quickly, leading her team through the corridors as fast as they could go. The ship was eerily quiet now, the distant sounds of battle replaced by the low, ominous hum of the alien ship's core destabilizing. As they moved, Maya's thoughts raced. Who were these aliens? Why were they doing this? And what did they want from the Hope's Dawn? They hadn't come for supplies or mercy. No, they wanted something far more dangerous, something they hadn't yet revealed. The words of the alien leader echoed in her mind, the cryptic warning of something greater still to come. We seek the knowledge you possess. You are more than you seem, human. Mia had no answers, only questions. But right now, survival was the priority. She couldn't afford to let her mind wander. They were almost at the escape pods. Rodriguez, get the pods prepped. Mia ordered, her voice cutting through the tension. Get as many people out of here as you can. We don't have much time. Rodriguez nodded and sprinted ahead, reaching the pod bay in a few short seconds. Mia and the rest of her team followed, their footsteps echoing in the dark, hollow corridors. The distant rumble of the alien ship's core was growing louder now, the entire vessel shaking as it prepared for its final, destructive burst. As they reached the pod bay, Maya stopped. Her heart raced as she surveyed the scene. The escape pods were functional, but there weren't enough for everyone. They had to make hard choices now. Get in. Everyone get in, she yelled, pointing to the nearest pods. But just as her crew began to file into the escape pods, the door behind them slammed shut with a violent bang. Mia whipped around, her hand instinctively reaching for her weapon. The sound of movement filled the room, and from the shadows, the alien leader appeared again, its form shifting and flickering like liquid metal. This time, however, it wasn't alone. Several more soldiers materialized beside it, their weapons raised and aimed directly at Mia and her crew. "You cannot escape," the alien leader's voice echoed. "The knowledge you carry will not save you." Mia's mind raced as she turned to face the alien menace. They were too close to escape, but there was still one last option, one final move. "Finn," she shouted into the comms, "you need to get the core online. Now. We're not running from this. We're going to make sure they don't get away with this." "What?" Finn's voice came through, strained. "Commander, the core is too unstable. If I try to power it up, it'll blow us all to pieces. We don't have a choice." "Finn." Mia's voice was firm, desperate. "We're taking them down with us. Power up the core. Use the alien ship's destruction as a weapon. Make sure they feel it." There was a long pause on the comms. Then Finn's voice crackled through, shaky but determined. "Understood, Commander. Give me 2 minutes." Mia turned to her crew. "Everyone, into the pods. Now," she ordered. "We're taking this ship with us." The crew moved quickly, piling into the escape pods with the last of their supplies. Maya stayed behind for a moment, watching as the alien leader and its soldiers advanced. Her heart pounded in her chest, but she wasn't afraid. She was focused. This was it. They had no other choice but to ensure that the aliens couldn't complete whatever sinister mission they had in mind. The countdown began. "Finn," Maya said softly, her voice steady. "Do it." The ship shook violently once more as the alien core began to react. The lights flickered, and the air crackled with energy. Mia's eyes locked onto the alien leader, who had been watching her every move. This wasn't over. Not yet. The core burst to life, an explosion of light and sound that filled the entire ship. The Hope's Dawn shuddered, every system in the ship reacting to the alien power surge. The enemy ship's destabilization process had become a chain reaction, now triggering a full-scale collapse. But before Maya could reach the pod bay, the alien leader's final words echoed one last time in her mind. "We are the beginning." And then the ship exploded.